I'm going to add a picture box all the way across, and I'm just going to add an image. Shortcut Command D to add the image, and I'm going to add this image here. And it's not to scale yet. I can already tell, but what I'm going to show you is this is my bounding box, the blue area. But if I click on the white arrow, do you see how when I zoom out, you can see this, this orange bounding box? That is the actual size of the image. So it's much larger. So what I can do is I can fit this into the frame proportionately. So I'm going to right click, go to fit into content proportionately, or here is the shortcut. Okay. That will fit it proportionately, but I can see that these areas here are obviously, I would like to extend it a little further. So that's when I would still stay on the direct selection tool, hold down my shift to keep it into proportion, and just kind of grab it until I touch these margins. So, and then within that text box, I can move this image. So here is my image in the document area because it's only on page 1, not on page 2. But the masters at the bottom are consistently throughout. Okay. And then if I wanted to add my text frame, I can do this 2 ways. So one way is I can draw 3 text boxes, 1, 2, and 3, and connect them all. That's one way to do it, because sometimes you have more flexibility. One of them you could drag, one of the text boxes you can pull further. So that's why you would do that. But in this case, I'm going to keep them all the same size. I'm going to take my type tool, and instead I'm going to draw a text box, go all the way across up until very close to the green portion, but not so that it's touching. Okay. And I left a space here because maybe I want to add a heading of some sort. I may want to pull this down a little bit. Okay, so that's what I would do here. This is for my main area of text. So right now, this is one text box. So what I need to do is to make sure that it runs text into 3 columns is I need to right click and get my text frame options this time. And I have to tell it to add columns, and right now it says 1. I'm going to add 3 columns, and I could preview this. Okay, and click OK. So I would need to fill it up with filler text for now. So right clicking and go to fill with placeholder text. And here is a quick sample of text. If I press W, you can see now we're getting somewhere. Page 1 looks like this. Page 2 is still empty because we still have to put content in there. So now I'm going to click and drag to make a heading here. And I'm just going to make up a heading. I'm just going to call this Save the Trees. Okay, so obviously it's a little small. I can highlight this and I could make this larger in the area at the top, the application toolbar. I can drop this down, the point size, make this much larger. I can change the font, as you can see here, choose a different font, so I can play around with the different fonts. And then if I want to change the color, I could do the same thing, but make sure you're clicked on the T to change the color of your font, the font itself. In the links panel, anything that you bring in or any image that you bring in will be shown in this area here. Now, this may be condensed. You may not be able to see this, but know that you can actually drag this down to see information about the image itself. So if I look at this, I can see down here, it gives me the color space. So if I were to send this to the printer, I would know that this is incorrect, right? Because that RGB is for web, not for print. And if I look further down here, actual PPI for print should be 300, so that is correct. If it was 72 for print, it would be incorrect. So that's how I could check that. Effective PPI basically is the difference. So this is the actual resolution, and it looks like it's double here. And the reason for that, because remember, we resized it within here. We resized it much smaller. So it's almost like we resized it twice the size smaller. So rule of thumb is that your actual PPI and effective PPI should not be over anything over 400 difference. I can see that there's about 300 difference, right? So that's still considered okay, but I'm kind of already pushing it, right? So what it means is that when you have a large image and you scale it down really, really small, it does lose its quality. So right now we're in the okay zone. So we have passed that. But if this effective PPI said 1,000 over 1,000, 2,000, and the actual PPI said 300, that is way off. It would be wrong. It wouldn't print right. So the only issue that we have here, if we're sending this to print, is the RGB issue. So in order to fix that, you can do this multiple ways. I can click on this, it's already selected, and I can always edit my original. This may not open in Photoshop, but if I click on that, it gives me the preview. So what I need to do is, in order to fix the color mode properly, I actually have to go into Photoshop, save it as CMYK, resave it, and then in here, just update the actual file. Okay, so update the link. So what I need to do is go into that image, open it up in Photoshop. Let's take a quick look at it. So I'm looking at it. So image mode, we already know that that's incorrect. We have to change it to CMYK. Okay. And then after that, I believe it was the correct, yes, the correct resolution. So that's okay. Then I go to File, Save. Just basically resave on top. I would go back into InDesign now, and it should have updated for me. If it doesn't, double check, but I believe it did, and I can already see that it did. Now that I look at my link info, it says CMYK 300, and it is correct.